All right, guys, so we're going to start by introducing our concept here. So basically, this is a movement type warm-up. It's called the Primal flow warm-up, and we've adapted this from the ground force method, so full credits to them. We're basically going to start sitting on the floor, extending our chest, creating as much extension through our back as possible. We're essentially going to work down from our ankles, working up towards our knees and hips, and and then addressing some thoracic mobility. The idea here, guys, is we're trying to self-assess and prep ourselves for our training ahead, but it can also be used as a method of cool down after training. So we're going to start with the ankles. So we're going to start with 10 reps, working through slow controlled dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. We're trying to create as much range in each ankle as possible. Once we've done our 10 reps there, we're going to go ahead and work on some ankle rotations. We're going to try as much as we can, as Stephen's doing, to keep the knees and legs as straight as possible and really focus on the rotation happening in the ankles. Once we've done 10 reps this way, we're going to go ahead and do 10 reps the other way. From next now, we're going to move into our active straight leg raises, lying on our backs, just alternating legs, reaching up to the sky without assistance, checking range of motion through the posterior chain and also activating our hip flexors and psoas. We're going to do 5 to 10 reps on each leg here with as much control as possible. After this, we're going to continue to progress by bringing our arms into the movement. And the arms are going to be used to give us a little assisted stretch by grabbing on the back of the hamstring and pulling our leg towards us. Again, we're going to go through 5 to 10 active reps here per leg. Okay, next, guys, we're going to go into our rolling sequence. Rolling is something we neglect as we go into adulthood, but it's really important that we establish a connection and control our body whilst on our back and on our sides. So here you'll notice Hightower has his hands on his knees, and as he rolls, he's going through some thoracic extension, looking back towards the wall behind him. We go anywhere between 6 to 10 reps per side here. As we roll, establish balance, we're going to push off that back leg. Now, once you've done your 6 to 10 reps, we're actually going to progress now by grabbing onto your toes. And then from here, we're going to continue with our rolling sequence. And as we roll, we're going to extend the top leg and come back. Extension through the top leg, you're going to feel the stretch of the hamstrings. You can actually regress this by grabbing onto the shin or the ankle, or maybe even using something like a towel to give you a bit more leverage. Again, we're going through 6 to 10 reps on each side here. Once Stephen's done his 6 reps, we're going to progress now to our leg extension into a sit-up. So as Stephen rolls, top leg extends. He's going to push off that back leg into a seated position in our butterfly stretch. Then from here, he's going to go back into a roll, left to right, top leg extends, sits up, brings the foot in. Again, we're doing 6 to 10 reps per side here. Done nice and slow with as much control as possible. We're going to be highlighting a lot of things here like adductor and hip mobility, internal and external rotation of the hip, as well as the ankles. Okay, next, guys, we're going to move on to our figure 4 series. So we have some progressions here, but we're going to start nice and simple. Hightower's going to hold this position for you to see. We're basically crossing one leg over, knee drops to the floor, creating as much thoracic extension as possible, pressing through that backhand, bringing his chest up. He's just alternating from side to side, and he's going to demonstrate 6 reps here. You can do anywhere between 6 to 10 reps per side. Getting loads of hip mobility here, as well as extending the thoracic and opening up that spine. From here, we're going to progress now. You're going to see that Stephen's going to pop up. He's actually going to place his 2 hands down in front of him. Good, nice proud chest. You're going to see we're going to get a lot of knee flexion through the leg on the floor and continuing to open the hips. I want you guys to actively think about opening those 2 knees apart from each other when we do this. And what you can't really see in the video is that Steven's keeping a nice flat neutral spine when he does this. He's going to go 4 to 6 reps on each side. You can do anywhere between 6 to 10. After this, now we're going to progress using the same figure 4 movement, but we're going to add in a cat and camel with each stretch. So high tower comes up into exactly the same position. Now we can do 2 reps of each, thoracic extension and flexion. We're going to think about breathing when we do this. As we come up, breath in, into the camel, breathe out, into the cat. 2 reps per side every rep. Steven's going to show us 4 reps here. From here, we're going to flow right into our next one, up into the figure 4, but we're now going to address ankle dorsiflexion. So as we go into exactly the same position, we're now going to place the focus on that front foot, driving the knee over the toe. Either you can come up and hold, or as Steven is showing us, we can pulse, making sure that the knee's tracking the same line as the toe. Again, we're still addressing hip mobility here, but we're now starting to get after the ankles. As you can see, we're flowing from one movement to the next, so as you get more experience with this and you do it more, the idea is that we can condense this into a 5 to 7 minute flowing routine, spending as long as we need to in each of the stretches. Okay, next we progress with the figure 4 series. We're now going to come up into a quadruped position, tucking the toes underneath us and sitting our bum back towards our heels. We're going to get stretched through knee flexion, addressing the quads, hip flexors, but also going to mobilize through dorsiflexion, through the toes and through the ankle. So you'll notice after each rep, high tower comes back into that figure 4 position, alternates on the other side, tucks the toes under, and just stretches through, nice and controlled. Then returning back to the neutral position. Okay, next guys, we're developing this. So we've just worked on lateral movement in a squat. Now we're going to work backwards and forwards. So Steven's going to start in a squat position. From here, he's going to walk his hands forward. When he's straight, he's going to drop himself to the floor, and he's going to go through 3 cobras here. Keeping the hips down the floor, creating as much thoracic extension as possible. It can help by looking up and forward. Once he's done his 3 reps, he's going to walk himself with his hands back into his squat, always finishing that squat. Then from here, we're going to reach over the back, walking backwards. He's going to give us 3 table lifts or rocking tables, creating as much hip extension but also shoulder extension as possible. From here, he's going to walk his hands back into the squat. And he's going to walk forward. He's going to give us 3 more cobras. What you'll notice is every time Steven gets back to that squat position, he's going to lead with the opposite arm. So don't always favor the one arm that feels comfortable. Make sure the next rep, you're reaching back with the opposite side and balancing ourselves out. Perfect. As he walks back, he's going to give us 3 more reps, hips up. Again, creating as much thoracic extension, hip extension, as well as shoulder extension. Notice his head stays neutral as well. Back in, he's going to give us 1 more rep. You should find that as you go through these movements, range of motion will open up and improve. And what we're giving you in terms of sets and reps, guys, that's not set in stone. You guys should be playing around with this. If there's certain movements you need more time in, or more time addressing, then make sure you do that. Steven will turn back to a squat. Okay, next, guys, we're going to continue working with the cobras. We're going to add some rotation to the cobra now. So Steven's going to start in the squat as always. From here, he's going to walk forward. When he gets into that position, he's going to drop chest to floor. This time as he goes into the cobra, he's going to look over his right shoulder, creating some extension and rotation at the same time, and then looks over his left shoulder. Then from there, he's going to sit back and push into a downward dog. Now, it's really important. This is the first bit of overhead range of motion we address. If you don't have the range of motion in your posterior chain like Steven does, you'll find that you may have to bend the knees when you do this. Notice he's stacking his shoulders and shrugging up to the sky. Then from here he comes back into his rotational cobra, chest to floor. Again, looking over one shoulder, then the other shoulder. Spending as much time as he needs to here, pushing back into his downward dog, packing the scaps, actively shrugging up, nice flat back, and again, if you need to, bend the knees slightly to allow you to really get into that nice flat back position where the shoulders are stacked. One more rep, comes out, looks over shoulder, other shoulder, and then back into that downward dog, stacking the shoulders. Again, we can sway from left to right here. We can rotate, we can emphasize one side more so than the other. The idea is that we want to move here and feel good. From there, guys, we should be ready to roll and prep for exercise. Spend a ton of time on our hands and feet. We should be ready for anything.